path where Viam and I had been walking this morning, and how it got there can only be explained by my own idiocy, itself inexplicable. So I'm sorry about that, but here it is. We can still go. Wendy is not my fault, though. That really isn't my fault. Anyway, that's the plan. I apologize again that we are late. Some nyala there. There's some elephant further down the road, so I think we'll go and have a look at them. Now, remember, if you're wondering what on earth is going on, how you have stumbled across this website, and now there's some fool blethering on at you about having lost an immobilizer. You are on a live safari in the northeast corner of South Africa, Kruger National Park, and of course these things happen out here in the bush. No spares, no batteries sometimes, and sometimes we lose our minds and our immobilizers. When that means we'd like you to talk to us, please, because we are live. Hashtag Safari Live or questions@wildearth.tv if you are on the email. The other one is for Twitter. And then on YouTube, just use the YouTube chat stream. That is a very effective way of talking to us. Ask us anything you like, except about the mechanics of this car, of course, which are a mystery more unfathomable than the construction of the Nazca lines in South America. But anything about Africa, South Africa, safaris in general, travel, and perhaps the drought even, which seems to have broken slightly on account of the wonderful green stuff you can see here next to us. Phew. Here we go. Tim, an immobilizer, you're in Arkansas and you want to know what an immobilizer is. Well, an immobilizer is a sophisticated piece of equipment that is very useful in the towns of South Africa, where grand theft auto is a national pastime. And what it does is that unless you have that very thing, the car is impossible to start. It is so impossible to start that BMW has reliably informed us that it is impossible to remove the immobilizer system from this car. This is an old BMW engine. What that means is, and of course this car is now, well, it's almost 20 years old. There are no spares for this thing. It cannot be taken out. Its purpose in the bush is completely useless. It is like having a water dinghy in the Sahara Desert. Grand theft auto, very unlikely out here. And so its purpose is completely useless out here, but totally impossible to remove. So Tim in Arkansas, that's what an immobilizer is. You probably, I'm sure you have them in the States, you probably just call them something else. Hello, Bill. Well, you bet that Mama Z found the immobilizer. Mama Z, for everybody who doesn't know, is the wonderful, wonderful woman who I suppose could be described as the matron of the DRC. That's where we live. And the matron of the DRC, Mama Z, did not, in fact, this time, Bill, find it. She finds everything else. But this, unfortunately, was out in the bush, and so I had to go and find it myself, which was something of a challenge. Viam didn't have much faith, nor did I. And we were just about to leave the last place where I got out of the car, and I thought, let me just quickly walk down that path. And I said, as I set off down the path, I said, there's no way it's down here. Well, sure as nuts, there it was, lying on the ground against a little grass tuft, smiling at me, and I'm so pleased to have it back. And I'm now going to staple it to my leg. Hello, Genevieve. You say that Raisa, who is something of a genius when it comes to the plants on this reserve, sorry, there's an elephant over there, you say that she told you that a carrion plant flowers in March, indeed, and we will try and find you one, Genevieve. I'll look out for it. There's not a lot of rocky areas here, though, so won't be common, but they will be around. Now, this is another tree beneath which the elephants are feeding of Raisas, and that is, of course, the sausage tree, which has yet to produce any sausages this year. That elephant is eating a bush willow. And now that we have found some animals, I shall calm myself and speak in a much calmer fashion. So 2 elephants there. There are a whole lot around here. I can hear quite a few. Let's have So we'll just sit here and see what unfolds. Whew. Here comes another one. A big cow, an enormous cow coming across the drainage line there towards the cow that we're looking at and her baby. There she is. That's a big cow, that. I can hear them all over the place. I think we'll just sit here for a little while and see if they don't all pop through. She's trying to smell us. You can see she's noticed us, obviously. We smell very strongly of petrol. That's gasoline. And brake fluid and clutch fluid and steering fluid and all those other fluids that, again, have incomprehensible functions. And then a little whiff mixed in with that will be the scent of human, and that is what will disturb the elephants if they get hold of it. Now, I don't know if you can see, but quite clearly there, the female behind, the big cow who came in last, is dominant over the other one. The other one seems a little bit nervous of her. What I want to do is just reverse back a bit. You might get a slightly better view up the slope. There we go. Hello, Safari Surfer. You say you feel such deep emotion when you see the elephants. Safari Surfer, I understand that feeling entirely. I also feel often differing emotions when I see elephants, I think depending quite a lot on how they feel. And I always love to hear how these sightings do make you feel, because sometimes it's difficult to express. So I would very much like, for those of you who would like to, for you to tell us how these elephants do make you feel. In one word on Twitter, just give us one word for how these elephants make you feel. One word only. #SafariLiveQuestions at wildearth.tv. And don't say elephants in general. Try and get a sense of these current elephants. Try and read their behavior, their interactions with each other. There's a very little one there. Try and look at how it's behaving. And then just try and see how you think these elephants perceive us, and then send through one word. Wonderful sounds of them walking gently through the bush, and then the odd snap. Hello, Dog's Mum. Dog's Mum, you're in Las Vegas. That's a wonderful Twitter handle, Dog's Mum. You want to know what happened to Brent today with the elephants that walked past him, because of course I think the feed cut basically as they were walking past his vehicle, which probably gave some of you a bit of a fright. And the elephants just carried on walking past him. Brent is currently out on foot tracking, and so all of that turned out rather nicely. There's the little one. Here comes a cow to say hello to us, young cow. She's now about 10 meters from us. That's 33 feet. And Louise says that it looks to her like they're smiling when they eat like this. That's interesting. I suspect that's probably more an energetic feeling than an actual facial expression, which is quite interesting. Now, David, if you zoom in on that rather large swelling in her belly there, and you see the top under her back, that kind of pale bit, I mean, she's young. She can't be more than 8 or 9 years old, maybe 10. Hi. She looks pregnant to me, though, which I think is interesting, because she's very young. She's very, very young. But she's definitely, I mean, her mammary glands have swollen, so I think she probably is pregnant. Now, it's not impossible for an elephant to have a baby at around 10 years old, but it is young. And while Dave swings back towards us, Kermie, you want to know how you tell the age of an elephant. Kermie, it's difficult. It's largely experience and seeing lots of different ones, different sizes. The most obvious thing, we'll just turn back to this cow here. The most obvious thing, Kermie, to look at for the little ones is if they are very small and under a year old, they'll be able to fit under their mother's bellies. Then at 18 months, the tusks will erupt, so that's easy. After which it becomes a little bit difficult to say unless you see lots of them. I mean, various ways of telling if they're old or young, I suppose, would be the condition of the skin, the size. Of course, a bull never stops growing, nor does a cow. Size of tusks is not a good way because they all have different sized tusks. It doesn't tend to make a huge difference. It's just kind of a genetic abnormality. Abnormally is not a word. I'm not sure what I want to say, actually. There are a whole lot more calling through here. Just going to wait for this young bull to come up the road before we move. And if we look at this one, at the young bull there, I mean, I know he's young simply from his size. He's probably standing maybe about 8 or 9 feet at the shoulder. Yeah, so difficult to tell unless you've kind of got one in front of you. I'm not going to go down the road. We could get closer to them, but I'm just going to let them kind of wander about us and see how they react. Now, one thing I do want you to notice there, we had a question the other day about the knees on an elephant. Now, look there at what seem to be the knees. They look kind of wet on that elephant. And that is the same joint as your wrist joint. See that? Now, you can immediately see, once I say that is the wrist joint. Then watch when this elephant walks again, and I want you to look for the elbow joint, which bends exactly the same way as our elbow joint would if we were on all fours. There it goes. You can see it underneath the shoulder there, and then you can see the shoulder up just behind the ears. So their joints bend in exactly the same way that we do. They're just slightly different lengths. Well, not slightly different lengths, they're vastly different lengths. So Teresa and Kimber, you say humble. Ooh, there's a tree going down. So you see it, Dave? You see it shaking there in the background there. It's going. Oh, it's gone. So Catherine, you say happy. Astralina, you say content. I think these are all wonderful words for elephants. Certainly this particular herd is making me feel a sense of, happiness. There's something slightly not quite off about them. Heidi, you say soulful, but for me, there's an edge, slight edge about this herd. I think that there's a little bit of discontent in it, and I can hear them calling through there. They don't have quite the same restfulness about them that they often do. It might just be me struggling to kind of come down after the great excitement of the immobilizer hunt. Jamie Patterson, who's in final control right now, says, I think this is a wonderful, wonderful description. says that elephants make her feel grateful. Yes, I think tinged with whatever other emotion I feel around them, I'd say gratefulness is certainly one of those. Thank you, Jamie. If you could kindly get on Wendy and help me out here, that would be wonderful. Wendy is obviously still down, everyone, if Jamie Andrea Patterson is still in final control. I'm just going to go back a little bit. No, I'm not. I'm going to roll forward, actually, because there's more going on in front of us. I didn't even introduce myself, and if you don't know who I am, my name is James Hendry, and on camera today is David. Hello, David.
Hello.
There's David. So there's a young bull in front of us here who's just examining the borehole pump house. Now, Wendy, you want to know if there's some kind of physiological reason for why an elephant is wrinkly. You know, it's not, and like you say, we have laugh lines, of course, but when we're born, we don't. When we're born, we have smooth skin, hence the expression, smooth as a baby's bottom. Why do they have wrinkly skin? I don't know. I mean, the only thing I can think is to increase the surface area, and maybe the hotter it is, the more they're able to expand that surface area by, breathing out, or I don't know how they would do it, and that will help them to lose heat, and then they can contract it again when they're cold. I can't really think of any other particular reason why they should need that skin. And of course, the skin gives rise to their sort of, it's not a generic term, it's kind of a colloquial term of pachyderm, which I think means wrinkly skin, if I'm not mistaken. They're all around here. Let's just go a little bit forward and around the corner and have another look there. So wonderful to hear the starting engines, isn't it? And these chaps living outside the herd will be young bulls. Let's have a last look at this guy. Now, safari surfer, you want to know about their feet, because you've noticed that they walk so sort of comfortably, and they look like they've got such soft feet. And they do have soft feet, safari surfer, but there's a big callus on the bottom of it, and that callus makes it possible for them to walk over thorny and unpleasant ground. Look at this young bull coming to say hi. This is wonderful. He's eating a bit of knob thorn, which of course, while we talk about the feet being soft and able to cope with thorns and rough ground, that trunk is just astonishing, as is the mouth, which is able to deal with the thorns. Look how close he is now. He's only about, I don't know, probably 8 meters, 24 feet. You can even hear his mouth chewing. Listen. Hello, kitty, bang, bang. That's another fantastic Twitter handle. Look at him. Isn't he wonderful? Kitty, bang, bang. You want to know if elephants have got 2 bones in their forearms like we do, a radius and an ulnar. As far as I know, they do, yes. I would imagine that most mammals do, and if they don't, they would have fused together for some reason. I think these chaps do have a radius and an ulnar, and they will stretch between the elbow, which is just underneath where the belly joins the leg, and that, what looks like a knee, but is actually the wrist joint. Marvelous. Okay, let's go around the corner. Sue, you've got quite a nice theory as to why on earth they should have such wrinkly skin. You say, could it be that they're wrinkled because they need the extra space for movement that makes it easier for them to move because they are so large? It's possible, yes, certainly possible. That's the cheetah plains vehicle. They're all watching us, of course, because we're much more interesting than elephants. I've said this before 100 times, but when you go into a sighting, and it doesn't matter if you're watching wild dogs killing hippopotamus. If you drive into a sighting, no matter what action is going on the ground, other people in the sighting will turn to look at the people coming in. We are completely compulsive people watchers. None of us can seem to help it at all. It's an amazing, amazing trait of humanity, I find. Debbie, you say the elephants are just bored and they are entertained by us. I agree. I actually completely agree with that. I think half the time elephants enjoy having us around as much as we enjoy having them, because it beats the monotony of the endless need to find nutrition to feed such an enormous body. I was reading about birds the other day, and it was quite interesting how they spoke about, or the author spoke about the fact that some birds, when they're not breeding, can get sufficient nutrition in less than sort of 30% of their time. Now, I mean, that's about the same amount of time that a human being takes to eat. And for the elephant, of course, that is completely the opposite. An elephant will spend probably of its waking hours, almost 100% of its waking hours, and of its total time, probably 70 to 80% of its time trying to eat. There is a little impala, and that little impala is born, if I'm not mistaken, of the second rut. And what that means, it was born probably last month. Yeah, it's a small one. And looking very, it's a wonderful Afrikaans word in South Africa, skraal. And skraal means kind of skinny and not particularly healthy looking. Doesn't look too bad, but does look a little bit skinny. Doesn't look quite as plump as the others. And its mum also looks a little bit ropey. And that's just a function of the drought. I think you'll find they'll start to put it on condition now with the advent of the last rains that we've had. I'm just going to try and find you that tree that was pushed over, because it was not far from where we're currently parked, and it was not a small tree that bit it. And I wonder if there isn't a fairly substantial bull elephant in here that is trying to show off his immense prowess. Dave, I'm going to ask you if you can just, I don't know if you're going to see it, but let me just, can you see the elephant through the gap there? I'm going to sneak forward very slightly. It's just a wonderful shot if you can get it there. Get it now. It's straight through this gap here. There we go. Isn't that cool? Just put forward a little bit. There we go. Now that, everyone, is about, what, Dave, about 150 meters away. So about 450 feet, 500 feet. But look at the wonderful picture that forms. And this is the thing with being on foot. You can see them having a bit of conflict there. The thing with being on foot is that this kind of view would be perfectly adequate. It's a really wonderful way to watch elephants, with them in the distance, and you can watch them safely without them knowing that you're around. And that's the kind of view you'd get. Very nice. Very nice. So Annie in British Columbia, very nice one. You say you're fascinated by the elephant's foot. Sorry, Dave, is this in your... You see, that's why I put it the other way, you see. Sorry, excuse this. David is being very OCD about this little corner of my box. Anyway, we will try and sort it out at some stage. Annie in British Columbia, you want to know about the elephant's foot, and you say you're fascinated by it. I just want to see if... I don't think there is a tree down there, but I'm not sure that's the right one. I think it was probably in here somewhere. we'll keep a lookout. Annie, you say, is it like a heel? It is exactly like a heel. It's exactly like the callus that a human being gets on the bottom of their feet if they don't wear shoes. And certainly at the end of a December holiday at the beach, I have got elephantine feet. And they then get very soft, of course, once you put shoes and socks on them again. So yes, it's exactly like that. Just remember, though, an elephant's front foot is like a human being's hand. More accurately, a human being's hand is more like an elephant's front foot, because, of course, our latest anatomical evolution happened well after the last elephant one did. Anyway, that was a marvellous elephant sighting. I think what we're going to do is probably head across to Arathusa and see if we can't see those lions. I haven't seen the Styx lionesses for some time. I've got no doubt in my mind that they will be doing what lions do best, which is absolutely nothing. They'll be lying on the ground, but it will be worth just saying hello to them, greeting them, and then we'll probably press on and see what else we can find. News on the wireless today, of course. Well, actually not very wireless. I went to a rangers meeting at Arathusa, which is normally a fairly painful process, because rangers meetings, of course, have had the same agenda for the last 47 years. Radio procedures, when shall we view cubs, not driving off-road during the rain, which roads are closed because of the rain. Anyway, so in between trying desperately not to fall asleep, what I did find was that they have absolutely found a den where Shadow is keeping some cubs, so that's exciting. We definitely won't be viewing them for, I don't think, at least 4 weeks. But she's found a termite mound on a place called Knobthorne Clearings, and apparently there's such an enormous hole in the termite mound that she actually goes right into it and then sort of sits there with her head out. So I mean, I'd really love to see that, but apparently all is well with Shadow. We don't know how many cubs she has, but certainly she's fine. Karula, apparently south of us on a place called Little Gowrie, she has mercifully moved her cubs away from the public road. Sorry, that was just the area about to be knocked off. From the public road that she was on. And so she's also got some privacy, I think, on I think she's got a little kill actually on a termite mound there. So she's safe, she's fine, her cubs seem to be okay, so all is well with the leopards. So for the next little while, probably a few bit of lean times as far as the female leopards go, but within say a month or so, we should with any luck be viewing lots of little leopard cubs, and of course that is just a rare pleasure that we will always be grateful for. Then other sad news is that Kwatile, who I managed to see only once, and that was largely because I was trespassing by mistake south of Arathusa, seems to have shaken off this mortal coil. Apparently Cedric and a few others from Arathusa saw her, and she seemed to have been bitten by a snake. And the very sad thing is that we don't know that she's dead. We're pretty sure she's dead, but certainly it would seem that she had 3 cubs at the same time, so that's a real sadness. Anyway, that's what happens. That is what happens out here. Hello, Simon. You want to know about what my other jobs are while I'm at Djuma other than presenting. Simon, as far as I can kind of design it, my job at Djuma is only to do what I'm doing right now. And that's, I say that with slight facetiousness, but I say it with some seriousness too. I feel that to be on top of my game here, I need to be very fresh to do this job. Especially when Jamie's having a rest, you know, as she is now, having broken Wendy somehow. I'm not sure how she managed to do that. Anyway, the big thing is to be able to deliver, I think, an experience that is full of energy, and I don't want to be concentrating on anything else. So at Djuma, we actually don't have any other jobs. Jamie and Brent and I, and, well, soon to be another fellow, that's our main job. Then there's a little bit of admin to do during the day. We might have a camp meeting to find out what things have to be done, a few technical bits and pieces that need to be done, but we actually have nothing to do with the tourism operation at Djuma. So there's very little going on with regard to that. Then today, for example, we had a chap come in called Renias Mhlongo. Now, Renias Mtenjana Mhlongo is probably the premier tracker in Africa. And I really truly mean this, if not the world. He's been all over the world to teach tracking. He's been to America to teach tracking. He's been all over South Africa. He's been to Australia. Where else has he been? I think he's been to bits and pieces of Europe too to teach the art, ancient art of tracking. And I knew him down when I was at Londolozi, and he runs a thing called the Tracker Academy down there, and he very kindly agreed to come up and spend a few days with us, and that's what Brent's doing now. He's out with Renius, but so the middle of this day, when I wasn't at that soporific meeting, we were walking around with him, and it was just fascinating. He took some of the presenters, and he took the two cameramen. Dave was with us. Louise came out too. And he just taught us some amazing things. We did some general basic tracking, which we were rather embarrassed about our incompetence at. Well, some of us were. And he also taught us lots of other little things. Like, for example, yesterday I found a tortoise, a serrated hinged tortoise. A Speaks hinged tortoise, which was covered in mud, and he had this kind of root growing out of his face, and I thought this was very, very odd, until Renius pointed out a hole in a termite mound, which you and I would possibly have thought was just where some termites had been. And it's actually a hole where a Speaks hinged tortoise lives. So they go in there, and that's why this tortoise I saw yesterday was covered in mud. That was wonderful. And then he taught me a Shangaan name of a millipede, which is Shingolongoti. Try and say that a few times. And then a little one called Shingolongotana. And then what else did he taught? He taught us about squirrels and the different alarm calls. And Brent has always said that Renius can speak squirrel. And we heard a squirrel going crazy. Now, whenever we hear a squirrel going crazy, we know there's a predator around, but we don't know what predator, and so we have to go and look. And he said, no, don't worry about it, it's an eagle. So we said, well, how on earth do you know it's an eagle? We all looked to the sky. He said, no, I can't see it, I can hear what the squirrel's saying. And he pointed out a very subtle change in the squirrel's call. It was much longer than it would be for a leopard. So those are the kind of wonderful things that we get to do around here when we're in the middle of the day. And so, Simon, to cut a long and fairly involved story short, the main job that we have is to do exactly what we're doing now, and then to try and increase our knowledge so that we can do this job a bit better. Right? The cameramen, on the other hand, have to work a bit harder than we do. They have to do quite a lot of technical fixing and that sort of thing. But of course, once we've got 27 Twitter followers, we tend to think of ourselves as fairly major celebrities, and such things are beneath us. I'm not being serious there, by the way. Now, here is a squirrel calling as we speak. Oh, there. Look, Dad. There's a bird there flying away, and we can hear the squirrel's alarm calling. There it goes. Oh, spotted. Well done, Dave. So I stopped here. I heard the squirrel's alarm calling. That's a brown snake eagle, and I can also hear some mongoose calling. See the drongo just keeping guard? The drongo will watch him and then bomb him every so often. And that's a brown snake eagle. Beautiful. And Dave, I don't know if you can just pan across these quite unbelievably beautiful clouds. Oops, excuse me. That are gathering to the west. Just stunning. Isn't that lovely? I don't know that there's any more rain coming our way, but I just find that inspirational. Now, Gerda and Donna, you want to know the name of the tracker. Renias, R-E-N-I-A-S, Renias, Mtenjana, M-T-H-E-N-J-A-N-A, Mhlongo, M-H-L-O-N-G-O, Mhlongo. Renias Mtenjana Mhlongo. And he grew up on Mala Mala. So you know about the reserve called Mala Mala, just south of us? He was born there in a little hut way back, I think, in about 1960. So while the hippies were knocking about Europe and America, Renius was hunting francolins, digging up roots and herding his father's cattle right around where you and I are looking at this incredible landscape right now. Isn't that a beautiful scene? If anyone could draw and paint, one could recreate that somewhere. Unfortunately, I am the world's most incompetent painter and drawer. Beautiful. Okay, let's press on. We're now at the kind of southern boundary of Djuma, and we're going to head further to the west now to see if we can pick up on those lions in Arathusa. I'm afraid word on the street seems to be that Wendy is in a dire state, so you're stuck with me for the foreseeable future. Now, Joe, that's an interesting question. I think there's quite a lot of debate about it, and I don't know the ins and outs of the debate. But you want to know the difference between, if there is a difference, between the Asiatic lion and the African lion. And the answer, Joe, is that it might be a different subspecies, but it's certainly the same species. And what that means is they could easily interbreed with each other. Now, there's some question as to whether the Asiatic lion found in the Gir forest, I think that's how you say it, in India, is in fact an indigenous population, and whether in fact it wasn't a kind of a group of escapees from some kind of zoological expedition. I tend to think that it probably is an indigenous species, certainly because so many, lions were once the most widely spread mammal in the world. Isn't that amazing? The most widely spread mammal in the whole world was lions, and I think that's an astonishing thing. So I'm pretty sure that the Gir forest Asiatic lions are exactly that. So I'm just going to get you to listen here. There's the brown snake eagle, same guy. Gracie, while we just listen to the squirrel alarm calling. He seems to have stopped now. Gracie, you say, can that guy, you mean Renias Mtenjana Mhlongo, teach you to speak squirrel too? Gracie, he's a wonderful teacher of kids. And so if you ever come out here, we'll try and get you to meet up with Renius. And you'll just have to learn his name, you know. You have to say his name exactly correctly, and then he will be able to teach you. Renias Mtenjana Mhlongo. Okay. And the difficult bit there, of course, is which is not a sound that occurs in English. It occurs in Welsh and in most of our languages out here, but not in English. Hello, Janet. Janet, you were wondering if a penguin is a bird. Indeed, a penguin, Janet, is a bird. It is a bird of the sea. Now, if you ever look at a penguin, if you just pick up, Google a picture of one, in fact, rather than do that, I'll show you a picture of one, Janet, and I'll show you how you know immediately that it's a bird. I'll just pick a picture in my book here. Here is a penguin. Let's look at the emperor penguin. There is the emperor penguin, Janet. Most obviously it has feathers, not hair. Now remember, feathers are completely unlike hair. They are actually modified scales. So they're more closely related to reptiles, birds are, than they are to mammals. And so we know the penguin has got feathers. Then its wings, there is its wings, which look pretty much like the wings of another bird, except they're shortened and modified for swimming. So a penguin flies underwater. And if you Google like a video of penguins swimming, it looks like they're flying underwater. So they really are very clearly birds, same beaks obviously, same kinds of feet, webbed feet like a duck. And so a penguin, Janet, is most certainly a bird. That one's found in Antarctica. We don't find them here, which is obviously a very long way from here. Too cold for me to go to. I can say fairly comfortably that I don't think I'll go there. Well, I might. I won't spend a long time. All right, on we go. Gracie, I hope you can say Renaya Mtenjana Mchongo. Hello, Sunita in Bangalore, India. I will answer your question if you will answer mine. You want to know, are there any sort of endemic or unique species to this particular area? And I will answer your question, but will you tell me where the Gir forest in India is? I don't know which state it is in. GIR, I think it's Gir or Gir forest. Where in India is that, Sunita? That would be wonderful if you could tell us, as you are from India. Animals here that are endemic, no, not many that are endemic to only this area. Of course, many that are endemic only to Africa, but no mammal is only found in the low-veld region here that we don't find somewhere else. So, no. And birds as well. I mean, we've got the bird list in the Kruger Park is over, I think it's, what is it? It's about 600 birds that you can find in the Kruger Park. But none of them are endemic. Now, endemic means only found in that particular region. I mean, I suppose the one... so we have the country, we've got the reserve, then we've got the country, and then we've got the region. And the region would be southern Africa, which contains Namibia, then Botswana, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and South Africa. And I think one of the animals that would be endemic to that area is the springbok, which is the only gazelle that we get in this area. So springbok, maybe an oryx. I don't think an oryx is found further up north in East Africa. So an oryx and a springbok are maybe the obvious ones. Nice question, that, Sunita. It's not something I've ever actually thought about. Right, now I'm going to try and get an update on the radio from Arathusa to see where those lions are, A, and B, if we can go and see them.
Yeah, that's the Opris Road.
So I seem to be receiving all members.
Depending where you're coming from.
There we go. Right, now, this fellow has very kindly pulled off the road for us. Stand by, everyone. Good afternoon, stations. Arathusa, James here from Wild Earth. Have an update, please, on the Styx location. Yeah, that would be great. Thanks very much. I'll take second standby. Can you just give me the position?
Sorry, Donga North.
Okay, copy. Thanks very much. All right, so we booked ourselves into that sighting. We'll go there in a little while. It's actually quite a good thing that we can't go there now. Let things kind of cool down a bit, and then we might be able to spend a decent amount of time with them. In the meantime, we'll see what else Arathusa has to offer us. I think let's go straight down past the sign and then we'll come up the airstrip from the other side. Hello Vido, you're in Santa Fe, which is somewhere I've always wanted to visit, believe it or not. It sounds like a nice place to go, Santa Fe. A warm, pleasant climate. Vido, you want to know what woodpeckers we have here? Vido, we have 4 kinds of woodpeckers here. We have the cardinal woodpecker, which is a little one. I'll show you a picture just now. Let me get off this main road. The cardinal woodpecker, the bearded woodpecker, the golden-tailed woodpecker, and the Bennett's woodpecker. Those are the 4 that we get here. The Bennet's is most obvious by the fact that it feeds on the ground. The bearded's most obvious feature is that it makes a territorial tapping noise in the mornings. It'll find often a hollow knobthorn tree and go ta 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 ta, and you can hear it echoing throughout the bush. It's a wonderful morning sound. The golden-tailed woodpecker has a golden tail, but so do all the others, and so its most notable feature is its call, which is a very nasal whine. It goes, which is not very attractive at all. And the cardinal woodpecker, of course, is the smallest of the woodpeckers, and it has a cardinal's cap on the back of its head. But I just don't want to miss the turnoff here, because I have of late found myself trespassing by mistake a few times, so I don't want to miss the turnoff. Bear with me. And then I will show you a picture of all the woodpeckers that we get here. I think the turnoff is over here. And of course, it was well south of this position that I was watching deer Kwatile before her untimely demise, possibly at the fangs of either a cobra or, I suspect more strongly, a mamba. What I'm going to do is just open my map, because I'm now completely paranoid about missing the turnoff. Wild earth traversing, yes, please find me. Oh dear, location not available, that's not good at all. General, no, that's not going to help. I'm getting seriously worried, everyone. I can't find the turnoff. Yes, thank you, Jamie. I am going to take the first right. I'm just worried that I haven't passed the first right already. Come on. Oh, goodness. Thank you. Right, great. Jamie says we haven't passed it, everybody. She's watching, and she's keeping... there we go. I can see where we are. There, you can see where we are too, everyone. We are that little blue dot, and we can go to the edge of the white bit down there. There we go. We're fine. Whew. There seems to be somebody virtually driving in David's backside, so I'm just going to pull off the road here. Hello, you deeply impatient human being. Anyway, so it goes. I find myself in very much the same position as that man, of course, desperate to get to where you need to go, and some chap like me driving along, enjoying the joys of the autumn, the marvellousness of this March afternoon, which of course is fair enough because it's a game reserve. It's not a highway. Thank you, Sunita. So, Sunita, you in Bangalore, and you say that the Gir forest is in Gujarat. That is the state that it is in, Gujarat. I hope I'm saying that correctly. So there are some zebras, but we're going to carry on, I'm afraid. I just want to get off this main road. And you say that it's well known for the lions, so it's obviously relatively easy to see them. That's great news. Thank you for that. Quite a comfort having a navigator sitting in the final control. If I go off piste, Jamie will no doubt get on the radio, yell at me and tell me to turn around. I seem to need a navigator full time. Right, the turnoff should be just over here. Very easy from the other side. There, I see it, everyone. I see it. Fear not. We're not going to be arrested. Well, I know you're all desperately worried about my being arrested. Hello, Dee in New York. You want to know how medical emergencies are dealt with in the bush. Well, Dee, That's interesting that you should ask that, because last week, 2 weeks ago, we had a medical emergency training where we had a scenario. And the scenario was that Scott fell out of a tree. And Leanne was mauled by a buffalo, and Stefan had both his arms and both his legs removed. History doesn't relate how that happened. Anyway, it all happened, and we scattered and we ran off to do our various things. And look, I mean, we probably would have been okay. I think Scott, who had fairly severe injuries, would have got to hospital, probably a lot more injured than when he fell out of the tree, but he would have been okay. Stefan, who was in the form of I don't know if you've ever seen those dummies that you learn to do CPR on, was just lying in the clearing in the form of a dummy, which was it was very difficult to take that seriously. And then Leanne was squealing gently underneath a tree, where she had apparently hurt her leg. Anyway, we got through the thing, and it was quite entertaining and very good practice. But in all honesty, oh, isn't that a magnificent sight there? We're just going to move up the southern end of the airstrip here. In all honesty, what happens is, in a medical emergency, there are a few things that you can do. We're coming onto the Arathusa airstrip here. If it is something like a heart attack, perhaps, or a stroke and it's the middle of the day, then we will try and get an aeroplane in here and fly you to Nelspruit. Nelspruit's the nearest hospital, 2.5 hours away if you really gun it in a car. And if you are injured, like you break a leg or something like that, we would stabilize you here, get a plane in or chopper and fly you out. Or if we had to, we could get an ambulance. There is a group on site in the Sabi Sands. They are 45 minutes away from us, though. Snake bite, something like a mamba bite, which is the most dangerous, I suppose. Highly unlikely to happen to you, but it is the most dangerous. Then what you do is you put somebody in a car and drive them as fast as possible to the nearest medical facility. And you've got apparently about an hour and a half to 2 hours. No, I think you've actually got 3 hours before that person will go into respiratory failure. Now, as long as you can keep breathing for somebody who's been bitten by a mamba, they will eventually work the poison out. So, you can survive it. It's not a sort of death sentence. Now, those of you who are keeping bird lists, just have a look at this little thing here. It's a pipit. And a pipit is it's possibly one of the most drab birds you'll ever see in your life. But it is interesting in so much as, well, it lives in the grass here and is a good one to have on your list, really. And it is not wagging its tail. That is notable, and I will show you the pipits. There, it is wagging its tail, isn't it? Oh, you can't see it. Sorry, Dave. It's right there. You see this kind of moist patch here? It's just in front of the moist patch, and now it's moving to the left. Go left from where you are. Left. Now zoom there. Zoom. All the way. There it is. There you got him. Middle of the picture. Well done, everybody. There's the pipit. And it is now wagging its tail. Very difficult to see. That is not David's fault that he didn't see it. It's my fault for not pointing it out properly. So I have to keep listening to the radio, everyone, just to make sure that I don't miss the space there in that lion sighting. So if you do hear it going crackle, crackle, I'm sorry about that. Now we'll find you the pipits. That particular one is known as the grass-felt pipit. The only way you can tell that is he's got a bit of kind of marking on underneath his throat, and he wags his tail a bit. Other pipit you might find here, buffy pipit, long-billed pipit. And you should say pipit a few times, just to get the satisfaction of having those two P's coming out of your mouth, quick succession. Pipit, 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 pipit. Right, here are the pictures of the pipits. That's the one you were looking at there. It's the grass-felt pipit, or African pipit. See, he's an insect eater, and he'll run around on the grass trying to catch the odd insect. Then quickly, before Dave unzooms there, I'm just going to quickly find the woodpeckers, which are on page 286 of this very fine book. unfortunately, the author of this book has recently shaken off this mortal coil, and so these will not come out again. There are the four that we get here, very conveniently placed on one page. Vito, there's the cardinal, and so named for that little cardinal's cap that the male has. They've all got a bit of a cardinal's cap. There is the golden-tailed woodpecker. You can see that they all have golden tails. And there's the bearded, which is a very large one. It's much bigger than the others, sort of 23 centimeters, so about the length of this book. And there's the bennets. Now, I was reading the other day that apparently what are they called again? They're called the Piccidae, or the Piccidae, yes, that's the family that they belong to. The Piccidae are not very well represented here. They're not anything like the size of the New World woodpeckers, which I think could get up to sort of that side, almost a foot long, probably. Some of the New World or American woodpeckers, which I was quite disappointed to find out. But that is a big woodpecker. I wouldn't want it pecking on me. Gorgeous golden light starting to develop there in the west. And then, Louise, just to keep you posted, what we do is I've taken to sitting after lunch and I read a book called Ornithology for Africa, and I read out a fun fact to the staff as they sit. Well, I think it's quite a fun fact. They probably just tolerate it. Anyway, the one interesting thing we did read about the woodpeckers the other day is that they're what we call zygodactyl, which means they have two front-facing digits and two back-facing digits. But that's not uncommon in a bird. Parrots can do the same thing, and owls are built the same way. But what is unusual in the woodpecker is that it can bring both of those. It can bring the back two round to the front. So it can have all four facing front if it needs to. It probably helps while it's holding onto a branch, bashing its head against it. That was what Louise wanted to know about. That was the fun fact of Wednesday, I think it was. What is this? Just quickly, Dave, that huge stork-like bird? That's incredible, everyone. Look at that. That is a black stork. And I'm really just amazed by this because I haven't seen one here for so long. And the reason is that they are cliff nesting birds. They don't nest in trees. That is very cool. That's probably two birds for many of you who are keeping your lists. The African pipit and the black stork. Seemingly a one-legged black stork, but I suspect actually just standing on one leg. Let me get a bit closer and around the sun, and hopefully it won't fly off. And what that will allow us to do is just get an idea of its color. Now just watch it, Dave, if you don't mind. Can you just stick on it? Because I want to see if the leg comes down, the other leg, while we drive up. This is really cool, everyone. This is not a usual bird to see here. Got the most wonderful red beak, which you can't see now, but we'll get round the sun and then you will see it. Any luck? I'll try and get it without all of the sticks in the way. Nice, Dave. Well done. Good job. Okay, now you can see its other leg there tucked up. And he's got a very grubby beak because he's obviously had his head buried in the mud here. You see how dirty he is? He hasn't cleaned himself today. Disgusting. Yeah, very cool. There, he's put his leg down. Well, that's very nice of him. Did you see that, Dave? Yes, he just went to the loo. Super. Now that, of course, will not be wasted. That will be eaten by some kind of fish or invertebrate or even one of the terrapins knocking about in this little pan. So as I say, unusual because they are, I mean, it's not that astonishing to see them here, but it is unusual, and they are, like I say, cliff nesting birds. They don't nest in trees like most of the other storks. Here he goes. That's really cool. So size-wise, probably the size of a white stork, which most of you will know, and maybe about, I don't know, about 2.5 feet tall. There he goes. So cool. Yeah. I also thought he'd fly up and stop on that dead tree. Cool. Very nice, everyone. Let us know if that was an addition to your bird list. In fact, we need to do a bit of a loop. Hooray. So, Lucy, you say that is 192 for you, and Tom, 114 for you, and 115 for you, Tom. So, Lucy, you obviously had one of those other birds. I suspect quite strongly the pipit, and the stork was 192 for you. 192 is an impressive list for this area. 114, Tom, a bit of catching up to do. Keep going. Now, Jess Wolfsbane, you say that if you had to stand on one leg, you wouldn't last 5 seconds. Well, Jess, I can only suggest then that you probably engage a Pilates teacher. Alternatively, just deal with it, because it's not really an issue. It is merciful that you don't have to sleep on one leg like that stork has to. I bet, though, if you practiced it, you would be able to do it. Now Heidi, you say you've got black storks in Europe as well, but very seldom. Yeah, Heidi, that is, I know they migrate. I didn't know they went all the way up there. So thank you for that. All the way up into Europe, everyone. A Palearctic migrant is what we call them. Oh, Jamie, a nice question from you. I didn't even address this. There was a huge nest underneath the stalk there. And that nest, everyone, was the nest of the red-billed buffalo weaver. And the red-billed buffalo weaver, which is almost as nice to say as pipit, nests in a little colony, always above water, or when they can above water, not always above water. We're now driving into the glorious, glaring, golden sun. That's called triple alliteration there, Dave. It's quite impressive. So impressive that I cannot see anything. David, we might drive into an elephant. The first we'll know of it is when we bump into its leg. Cannot see anything, everybody. The world has turned a magnificent shade of yellow gold. Mike in Florida, you reckon that you're now on 228 birds. That is really impressive. 228 is tipping the scales of, how many birds there actually are here. I'm just listening carefully to the radio, which at the moment is just a squelching noise. But I think we're okay. Keeping an eye out for tracks and just marveling, reveling in this light. Especially after the last gloomy days that we've had. Very grateful for the gloomy days of the rain. And now, of course, we were asked about the smells after that beautiful rain that we had. And the smell... Hang on a second. Okay. We're not going to this line anymore. We're not going to the lines, everybody. Renias and Tinjana and Tlongo just found us Tingana the leopard, and he is back on Djuma. We're not going to see reclining lions. We're going to go back towards Djuma to look at Tingana. How very exciting. I hope we can still get there in time, but we should be able to. So hold on. I'll drive slightly faster than I was driving. And I was just saying that after the rain, we were asked about the incredible smells of this area, and it didn't smell much while the rain was going on, but now that the earth has heated a bit, that petrichor smell, lovely, clean, fresh smell of fresh vegetation, and kind of, it's taken the dust out of the air, which gives a unique and beautiful smell. I'm going to drive relatively quickly, everyone. Of course, we would at this stage normally hand you over to the other vehicle, but we can't do that now because Wendy is a recalcitrant old bat that is not functioning at the moment. So you'll just have to bear with us. Lift your drinks off your laps, don't spill them. Here we go. So exciting. The man is a genius, I tell you. And of course, many of you would have watched during Big Cat Week when we had Bright and Jeffrey, who were two trackers, and they were protégés of Renius's. So he taught them, and Bright is actually now Renius's assistant down at Londolozi. Excuse me, I just ate a fly. It's disgusting. I'm just going to call this in on the radio, everyone. Stations, I am not going to be making my way to the line something. Just an update for you. Tingana has been located on Vuyatela, heading west from Vuyatela access. So might come across Triple M break. I will keep you posted. Guys are following him on foot, so I need to get on there. Here we go. We're on the airstrip, Arathusa International Airstrip. Oh no, hang on a sec. We can't go this way. Christopher, you're in Arizona. You want to know during our downtime, what do we do to entertain ourselves? Do we have a TV? Brent has a TV, and so some people watch TV. Brent has it for to watch rugby. We do watch rugby sometimes. That's the kind of sport that we love the most out here. But the rest of us read. We do quite a lot of reading, which is great. We don't watch too many American shows here. Lots in Johannesburg. We live in town. We watch lots of American shows. My favorite was Dr. House. I model my character on Dr. House, of course, which is why I'm a sarcastic and unpleasant person. But out here, no, not a lot of TV. I play the guitar, I do some writing. Dave, what do you do?
A bit of reading.
Dave reads quite a lot. He's reading Shantaram at the moment. Highly recommended if you haven't read it. Louise does a bit of reading, quite a lot of popcorn eating and having the odd snooze. What does Kirsten do? Kirsten reads. Everybody reads. Jerry reads. Brian plays computer games sometimes. Dota. This is another kind of world into which I cannot enter. VM does the same. VM proudly informed me that although he is a fairly well-informed human being, he has not read a book for 10 years. This is because he has had the internet for 10 years and sees no reason for him to read a book. Yes. Now, Donna, as you say, you hold that to that drink, both hands, don't take it off your lap. The reason I am going to have to hurry, everyone, is that he is heading west, and I think he's going to, if he does cross west out of Vuyatela, which is Djuma, Waterbucks, if he does cross out of there, he will cross into Simbambili, which we can't go to, obviously. So we'll get the final control to keep informing us as to what's going on, and you'll just have to hold on tight. Oxpeckers flying overhead, wonderful late afternoon light filling the air. I think this is just amazing. You know, we haven't found tracks of a male leopard, especially on ground like this, for I don't know how long. Renius has found the tracks, obviously walked down them, and bang, there he goes. It is a skill that, if you don't know how it's done, looks like magic. Bree, this is an interesting one. We get lots of questions about danger and what's dangerous, and is there a necessity to ever run from an animal, is what you want to know, versus stand your ground. Bree, yes. I'd say that there is one or two instances. If a buffalo bull decides he's coming to get you, don't stand your ground, get up a tree or get behind a tree. If a rhino really wants to come and get you, you don't want to stand your ground, you do want to stand still behind an obstacle though, so that it won't be able to see you, it won't, but don't run in front of it. There's never a reason for you to run from a cat. If a cat was ever chasing you, then you shouldn't run away from that. Hang on 1 second. Oh goodness, hang on. Sorry everybody, I just got to listen to what's going on there.
He was just coming on to
Oof, there are lots of people there.
Probably going to keep moving towards Sandy Patch.
Yeah.
Okay, copy that. You said Lex is there.
Renty, are you in charge of that sighting?
I was right now. What's up with that?
I'm coming on to Triple M from Arathusa. I'd quite like to get a standby there, of course. Can you tell the controlling station and just give me a lineup when the lineup is available?
Copy that. Nick, you copy that? Check our quality
Now there are hundreds of people there, everyone. Sorry, I'm just listening. I will tell you what's going on. In the meantime, look at the beautiful sunset.
I think it's Andrew, Elvis, Preston and Jen, whatever, depending on how far people are. Okay.
Isn't that stunning? Sorry, I fear me this may have been the wrong call to just leave this area. I didn't realize how many people there were going to be knocking about in Ghana. Anyway, let's see what happens. It would be nice, just even if we just get a glimpse of him, it would be very nice. Just listening to the radio.
Okay, can we take Mike, you done? Take one last time.
Yeah. The radio, of course, is now going to be so deeply excited. Oh! There are a whole lot of flies. A lot of flies everywhere, flying in my eyes. Very tall. It's very acidic. An acidic fly got in my eye. It's all right, I'll be okay. Right, on we go.
Trying to put over my way for one last visual before I make way.
What we will do, I'll tell you what we'll do, everybody. If we can't get in there, we'll go straight to the hyena den and see what's happening there. Simon, you want to know what the speed limit is here and how that is prosecuted. Do they have speed cameras like they do in Kruger? No. Simon, the speed limit is about 30 kilometers an hour, which in miles, this is so difficult to do the whole time, which in miles is about, I don't know, 20 miles an hour, 18 miles an hour, plus minus. And they can. One of the guys has got a speed gun, actually, but it's very unusual that people will use them. And the main culprits of speeding in this area. Sorry, Dave, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to ask you to just tie that thing on. It's starting to come off. The rather expensive virtual reality rig seems to be about to climb off. And there are two reasons for my doing this, of course. One, so that I can do my eye, and the second, of course, so that you can meet David. Hello, Dave. There he is.
Everyone.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I think that was quite clever of me, actually. And so, speed is enforced by your peers, basically. If you're found going 100 miles an hour around a corner, well, you're going to be in trouble. And then secondly, of course, if you drive too fast, you're probably going to break a car or do someone an injury. This must look ridiculous, I know.
With the way he's moving, you think there's space all time to get there.
Sorry, everybody. He's going towards Bivelshoek boundary now. I don't think we're going to see this chap. I'm going to go a bit faster. I just was so happy that they found him again. So the proud father, everybody, certainly who we think is the proud father, well, I don't know how proud he is, but the father quite possibly of Karula's cubs, quite possibly of Shadow's cubs as well, recently mating with Tundi. He could be, he's going to have a lot of children soon. Yes, Jamie, you say perhaps I should get some driving goggles. Yes, that's not a bad idea. It's just that I would look utterly ridiculous driving around with driving goggles. I struggle enough with ridiculous looks, and I don't think driving goggles would help.
I'm going to be leaving the area. I'm going to be leaving out north from Gary,
There are also one or two fairly inexperienced fellows in the sighting, and so it's a little difficult to find out what's going on. Anyway, we're not too far. If we don't see him, well, there's always tomorrow, and we can go to the hyena den now and see what we can find there.
It looks like he's heading to Jumbuti Road, the little cut line going north, if I'm correct.
Oh, jeepers, there's another one. Another vicious little blighter in my eye.
Anyway. Level 50. Yeah, say again. What's in channel 50? James, come in.
Go ahead, Lex. I'm on Triple M Junction, Impala Road.
Yeah, James, sorry man, he's heading north. I don't think you're going to get you in time. He's about to cross into Buffalo.
Crossing over Bubbleshook, you can hear Lex telling me. Okay, copy, thanks. Lex, I'll do my best, but that's fine. I'll come up Sandy Patch and you just tell me once he does cross. Sorry about that. Anyway, hyenas it is.
Yeah, he's just crossed, James.
He's just crossed. We're not going to see him. Oh well. I've lost the radio. There it is. Copy, thanks, Lex. Ugh. Okay, I'm going to have to stop, everyone. There's a fly in my eye. I can't get it out. Darwin, do you see a fly in my eye?
Yes.
Please take it out. Please perform surgery on camera.
It's on still.
Mike. Andrew, come in. Anyway.
Okay, one more time.
So Andrew, he's just crossed into Buffalo Junction, Albury's Road, heading north.
It's gone.
All right, come on.
Sorry about that, everyone.
Go for it, Andrew. I'm still away. I'm literally a Buffalo Dam. If you're close, go in. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Dave. You know, the things we do for each other out here.
Yeah, anyway. Thanks very much for your best outside.
Right.
Okay.
There we go. What a sadness that he is gone. Anyway. Last we heard of him, he was well south of the boundary. Look at the beautiful sky. Just too magnificent for words. If another one of these things flies into my eye, I think I might lose my temper.
Just to confirm, is that you
There is an impala, everybody. Let's stop an sighting of some impala. Don't run away, impala. I shall become very upset with you. And there's also a waterbuck in the background there. There we go. Male impala, and the waterbuck will be hanging around with them for the sake of safety. Many eyes, good for looking for predators, of course. Right, I'm not going to hang around, chaps. I think we need to move. Jeez, like that thing.
Still feel like it's in there.
Yeah.
Seems to be gone.
No.
No.
We lied. Thanks. Dave and I weren't having a moment there. I mean, he was checking my eye. Oh dear. When it's not your day, it's not your day. Some zebra. We'll have a quick look at them as we drive past. Move. Zebra, everybody. Beautiful zebra. It's just getting a bit dark. I think we've probably only got about, I can't think much more than 20 minutes of light left. But what a beautiful, beautiful afternoon it's been. And it continues to be. The bits of it that I can see out of my left eye, I am of course entirely blind in my right eye now. Cecilia, we did not. You want to know we had medical training, you know, for fly blinding during our scenario training. No, none. None at all. Only broken bones and sort of pawpaw-sized holes in the midriff from buffalo, but no flies to the eye. Just look how green this has got. Patty, you think I should write a book called A Fly in My Eye? I think it'd be quite a short book, Patty, but certainly if it would sell, then I'd happily write it, yes. Maybe a pamphlet more than a book. Sorry, we do seem to have done quite a lot of driving about, everybody. Sorry about that, but fortunately I made a few hashes with regard to decision making, and the animals didn't do what we expected them to do. But we will shortly get to the hyenas, who will hopefully be there. We're now on what we call the Vuyatela main axis, which is the main access road into Djuma. And if you ever drive in here, you'd come in along this road. And it's such a joy. If you drive through the gate, there's some Nyala, just a very quick Nyala stop. Hello, Nyala. Yes, hello. Wonderful to see you. Gorgeous chestnut colour, young male, whole lot of females. Let's move on. It's such a joy when you come to the gate. You've just been driving through rural communities and the gate sort of closes behind you and you're into, suddenly you realize you're in a wildlife area of 8 million acres. Contiguous wildlife area of 8 million acres where absolutely anything can happen around any corner. Sometimes nothing happens around a lot of corners, but anything can happen, and it is just the most wonderful feeling to know that you're in an area like that. There is an enormous bird there. I'm going to hold off the hyenas. There's a ground hornbill here. The single ground hornbill that we've been watching for the last little while on his own in the tree there. Isn't he wonderful? Oh, he's an endangered bird. And Brian managed to make him call the other day. That's what they do. Obviously, this guy is not fooled by me in the slightest. And in Zulu, they're called utututu, which is obviously onomatopoeic. Isn't it a wonderful name? Utututu. There he called. He just made a little noise. He went, bow. Given the darkness, let's continue to the hyenas. Oh, there's another one. There's another one. Look. Flying over. That's wonderful. So he's not on his own anymore. There he goes. He's got a friend. Hooray. Well, that's a happy ending to that sighting. Brilliant. If I'm not mistaken, there was a regiment during what is known, a very famous time in our country's history, known as the Anglo-Zulu War of 1879. And there was a regiment, an ancient old Zulu regiment called the Udududu. So they named their regiment after the ground hornbill. There's a bit of trivia for you. Unlikely to come up in a pub quiz. Virtual tourist, you're asking about bird migration. Very good questions. You've asked 3 questions, which I will try and remember. 1, when are they going to go? 2, do they all go together? And 3, struggle this year that fewer of them would make it. That fewer of them would make it overseas this year because of the drought. Question number 1, when will they go? They will start going from round about now. Probably sort of within the next 2 weeks or so, they'll start to leave. I've already noticed the woodland kingfishers starting to shut up, which means I think it's probably time that they headed off. And then, will they all go together? No, absolutely not. They won't go together. They'll fly separately as species. I'm sure they'll probably come across each other, some of them, but they will leave at different times. And thirdly, yes, I do think that fewer of them are going to make it this year, because I've no doubt that many of them will not be as fat as they need to be. Some of them, of course, will put on up to 60%, at least 76% more body mass during the summer months than they will otherwise. Have I lost my mind, or is this an entrance to this den? I'm pretty sure it is. Yes, it is. Then a question about Kwatile's cubs, and I mentioned that, David, I've lost my mind. This is the wrong entrance to this den. I think it goes there, but it is the wrong entrance. There is the den entrance. We'll get around there, David, don't worry. But first, we're going to look at this little rabbit, or hare. There. It goes. Little one, baby one. It's a leveret. Straight in front of us there. That's it. Isn't that sweet? Thought it hadn't been seen. Would we rescue the cubs? No. Ellen, I'm afraid we wouldn't rescue the cubs, mainly because they're not on our land. So, I mean, it has really, unfortunately, nothing to do with us. And B, unfortunately, what normally happens with these reintroductions of animals is that they tend to end quite often in tragedy. It's by no means certain that you can reintroduce a leopard successfully to the wild. I have completely lost my mind. I'm in totally the wrong place here. And while there are certainly experiments afoot that will attempt to get, to reintroduce leopards, it's by no means sure to be successfully introduced to the wild. So, no, I don't know if they even knew where the cubs were, to be honest. There it is. Now, Jamie, you've noticed that some of the names that I've used for the animals out here seem to come from the noise that the animals make. David, I don't know where this termite mound is. I cannot actually believe that I've lost my mind to this extent. You see it there? You think that might be it? Jamie, yes, they are indeed. They're onomatopoeic, and that means... That is a word that means... No, it's not that one, I don't think. That is a word that means basically you name something after what it sounds. What is that? I think it is it. I can't actually believe this. This is unbelievable. I think the grass has grown up. I'm now completely losing my mind. I must apologize, everyone. This is so embarrassing. Well, something has lived here at some stage. That is for sure. Whether it was ever a hyena. No, this is not the hyena den. This is not the hyena den. Oh, good grief. This is horrendous. Okay, well, keep the questions going, everybody. We will find it eventually. Luckily, we're on a ridge crest area, so very well-drained soil, perfectly drivable this time of the year. This is horrendous. I am an absolute moron. Good grief. Thank you, Simon. You say this is reality TV at its best. I think this is navigation at its very, very worst. That's very kind of you to say that. Well, we'll probably get a puncture now and be stuck here all night. Let me go this way. Well, it's here somewhere. The reason I got confused is that the other day I drove straight past the entrance. Goodness day, this is going to get a bit hairy. Watch your head. I think we've arrived. Ah, we have. Have we? David, tell me I'm not seeing things. We have arrived. Everybody, in a very roundabout way, we've got here. Ah. It's not a hyena in sight. There isn't one hyena anywhere near here. Yes, Louise, I'm sure this is the correct termite mound. Look, Dave, there's no hyenas here. No, I think this is quite interesting. I don't know, Jamie was here when? Jamie came here 2 nights ago. I didn't come this morning. I thought about coming, but I didn't. Now I can hear them. They're the other side. There they are. I can see them. Hooray! Joy and rapture unforeseen. Yes, there you are. Yes, I see you. I see you. I'm coming to see you again. It is your long-lost friend, James. Hello, everybody. I nearly didn't see you today. I first nearly lost a vital piece of the car, and then I couldn't find where you lived anymore. Oh, there we go. Now, they've moved into a different hole, the little ones. We've got you just in time, I think, just before the adults go off and forage. There's a little one, Dave. Some little ones there, and they've moved holes. I can see a hole that they've just come out of on this side of the mound. We're on the eastern side of the mound. They've normally been on the west and northern ends. That's sweet. Shamrock, you're saying, am I putting today's tracking lesson into practice? And clearly not very successfully, Shamrock. I hope to put those lessons to practice at some stage, possibly a bit more successfully than I have done this evening. So the adults always, or normally around this time of the night, will go off and forage. So ideally you want to be here sort of about 20 minutes before sundown. Have the last little bit of feeding. I think that's June there, if I'm not mistaken. And they'll now probably go back into the den as the night falls. They may play around a little bit here. But interesting that June has been left as the nursemaid to look after these chaps. Isn't that sweet? Those are the January cubs, everyone. That's interesting. Clown Sharon, you want to know if I think the rain has lifted the animals' behavior, made their moods a bit better, made them less cranky and less territorial? I think in many respects, actually, yes. I think you'll find that there will be a bit more play behavior, certainly, maybe not now, but certainly as the rains come, you can definitely see a lightening of the mood, but not less territorial, definitely more territorial, Clown Sharon. Remember that what the wind does, that little hyena is actually marking territory there with an anal gland. Clown Sharon, a leopard or a lion territorial marking will be washed away by rain, which means that they become much more territorial when the rains fall. So they will start to mark. I suspect that's what Tingana was doing, why he was moving this early in the kind of evening. And I'm sure he was marking territory. Probably why he was moving the distance that he was. Look at that wonderful, wonderful picture of that little hyena heading into the golden horizon, which is a lot darker than it looks on the screen right now. Listen. Ah, look at them. Hello, Ellen in Arkansas. You want to know if hyenas shed their coats in the same way that dogs and cats do? Ellen, yes, they do, but probably not as extremely around here. Remember that it doesn't get particularly cold here, so the extremes of temperature are not that great. So yes, while I'm sure that the summer coat is not as thick as the winter one, I think it's probably far less noticeable than it would be at higher latitudes. Right, I think that's it. We're obviously not going to shine a light on them, everybody. I say obviously as though it's an obvious thing, but shining a light on them would just maybe attract predators and blind them and make just life a bit more difficult. So we're going to leave them be. Just the last view there, Dave, you zoom in, that little one has just come out there. You might get a silhouette. There it is, just disappearing down. So sweet. Mm-hmm. Isn't that wonderful? All right, everybody, shall we go and see what creatures of the night we might be able to find? Unless we just sit here for a few more minutes. Let's sit here a few minutes. So, Angel Lady and Kitty Kitty Bang Bang. I'm just going to say that again. That is, you did hear me correctly. Kitty, kitty, bang, bang. You want to know if there's water in Djuma Dam? Can we go and have a look? Yes, we certainly can. We'll head down that way shortly. Let's just have a last look at these wonderful little hyenas born to us in January. Probably within the first week of January, or maybe early in the second week. You can hear some other hyenas, probably from a neighboring clan, calling from miles away to the west in the setting sun. That's just over the top of your screen. Righty, David, let's go and see if we can find some froggies like we did the other night. We had a most epic sighting of a bullfrog eating termites. Nice to see if we can find a few more frogs. We've been deprived of frogs this year, everybody, because of the drought. Hello, Sean in Secunda. You want to know if, and everybody, Secunda's in South Africa, you want to know if this is a high or low risk malaria area. I think it's known as a low to medium risk area, but that largely apply to the communities outside here. Now, the malarial parasite requires two hosts. It requires human beings and it requires the Anopheles mosquito. Now, in the absence of either, malaria cannot survive. And we, of course, do not live in an area with a large sedentary population. We live on a game reserve. And that means that the malaria, if it does come in, is normally going to come in from outside, where there are large sedentary populations. And it's highly unlikely, of course, that those areas, or that, it can get a foothold here. So if somebody gets malaria here, we'll normally send them home, or, they'll go to the doctor and then recover at home. And that will normally keep it out of an area like this. So yes, you can get it here. Brent, who seems to be particularly prone to malaria, I think he's had it 28 times or something, has never had it here. So I suspect it is probably more low risk than high risk. 28 or 29 times. That is a lot of malaria. Luke, you're in New York, and it's a very interesting question about, are there other hyenas in this area other than at this den? Luke, it's a whole clan that has this den here, and as far as I'm aware, our brilliant Djuma viewers have started a really fascinating Facebook group that you must go and have a look at. It's called the Hyenas of Djuma and Arathusa. And they've identified 17 hyenas adults from this clan. That excludes all the little ones as far as I know. So we know that there are at least sort of, including the babies, about 25 or 26 hyenas in this clan. It's not a particularly large clan. Off in Arathusa, there's one that's got at least 30 members. So that's quite a big clan for this area. But they will all be centered, the entire clan, all 17 of them, except for the males, will be centered on this den. They'll come and go, and if they don't have youngsters, so if the females don't have youngsters, they'll visit the den every so often, then they'll move off again. The males will very seldom come and visit, and then they move off and forage on their own as well. So that's basically how it works. Let me just change gear. Jennifer, you want to know why I think it's interesting that they left June as the babysitter? Only because she's so young, and I think we are sure it's a she, are we? I can't remember. No, I think June's a male. Might be a male. I can't remember. It's all just too much for me. June is a male. So June is more a nurseman than a nursemaid. Anyway, just because she's a youngster, or he's a youngster, and we'll have to go down into the den if there's a threat. So June will go down into the den and rather than run away, which is what an adult would do if, say, lions came around there. But interestingly, we had a great conflagration the other day of 10 wild dogs fighting with the hyenas. Those youngsters, there was a yearling, which was not that young, but June was there in the middle of the fray, stealing meat, running around, ears pricked up, and really kind of like a young teenager trying to get in on the action. And I mean, if the wild dogs had got hold of her, they'd have torn her to pieces in seconds. I keep saying her because June is a feminine name, but it may well be a he. Thank you, James Richard, for your kind, I think, comment. You say, despite the fact that I've managed to lose everything this afternoon, presumably referring to the leopard and the lions. That sounds horrible when I say lose the leopard and the lions, and the immobilizer, of course. Let us not forget that. I don't seem to have lost my wit, and this is a small victory. Well, that's very kind. Thank you, James, for saying that, I think. I also nearly lost my right eye, yes. A vicious acid-spraying fly. It's rough out here, you know. It's not easy. Dangerous. It's not really dangerous, everyone. Despite what many would like to tell you. And I know I've it's always a great amusement to me when you know, you national park and you watch guests get out of the plane and they meet the who of course is either I've been doing this job forever. What shall I do with this, do you suppose? Sorry about that, everybody. Just trying to untangle the spotlight, which seems to have tangled itself miraculously on its own. We were set upon by hundreds of termites. Anyway, you go to an airport like Arathusa, and the first amusing thing that you see is the matching khaki colors that get out. Designer khaki wear for the bush safari, which is quite amusing but understandable. And then the second thing you notice is the rugged ranger coming up to greet his guests. He's normally, or quite often, especially if he's a white man, because the local guides obviously find this sort of behavior ridiculous, because it is ridiculous. He will be dressed in very short shorts. He will have very enormous legs, much more enormous than. He'll have heavy boots, and then he will also have strapped to his belt a knife, the likes of which King Arthur would have been proud. And this knife, of course, is to demonstrate to his guests how perilous their situation is, how dangerous it is, and how he, with this great blade, is going to protect them from all and sundry, all manner of species coming to bite them. And, sorry, just one little suspicion here. The other thing he will then do, of course, I will continue the story of the rugged white ranger. I just thought I may have seen an eye looking out of that hole there, like it may be a bush baby's nest, but I don't see anything there now. No, not a bush baby's nest. No bush baby. Move on. Thank you, Louise. Then the next thing he does, of course, when he gets to the lodge, especially if there's a young lady in the party, he will then demonstrate his might by carrying her bags to her room with one hand, and offering her anything that she might need. And then, of course, when it comes to taking the game drive, he will arrive with his rifle. Now, what I was taught was that if you're going to carry a rifle around people, what you do is need to make it invisible. And so you carry it almost as a second part of you. You carry it down next to your leg. And so people don't feel threatened by it. And it's just something that becomes part of the ranger's makeup. Well, once you've met the guy with Excalibur strapped to his waist, what he will do is arrive at tea with his rifle over his shoulder like this. And this has two purposes. Firstly, to show you that he has an enormous rifle and is therefore very manly. And secondly, because if you hold your rifle like this, you see, you can show off your enormous muscles on your arm here, your big biceps, your guns. This would have proved entirely ineffective to me, of course, because my arms are roughly the same width as my legs. If you ever get a guide like that, complain immediately that you want another one. Now I'm just going to turn the light off simply because the impalas will become a little bit startled by it. Just going to ease down the road here. And we're going towards the Djuma Dam so we can show you the water. Simon, an interesting question. Is it true that you can buy in the Kruger quinine water, which will in turn deter mosquitoes and stop you getting malaria? Simon, I reckon I can safely tell you that somebody's told you a pork pie. That is not the case, no. Quinine is a cure for malaria. It is not, as far as I know, a prevention. It is a very powerful drug. It will make you feel very sick indeed. And so, I mean, the most effective, you can get a little bit of quinine from tonic water, which you can have with gin if you like, but not enough to make it vaguely effective against a malarial parasite. And the most effective way to avoid malaria is to avoid being bitten, first of all, so you can put those anti-mosquito sprays upon yourself. Or you can take the various homeopathic remedies, actually, that are quite effective at preventing malaria. And then if you're going into a really heavy malaria area, you can take things like Malarone and I'm not sure what the latest drugs are. Oh, listen. Can you hear the bubbling casinas? Such a lovely sound. Isn't that wonderful? Now, unfortunately, these things are nigh on impossible to find. They're so good at hiding. They're sort of black and yellow. Go a little bit forward. The Djuma Dam does have water in it, and I'll just park over here and then you can see. And then we'll listen for some froggies. I'll find one or two. There we go. There. Not that full of water, quite full of water. Beautiful, and you can hear the wind blowing a little bit. Dear. Black screen. That's very strange. Sorry about that, everyone. I'm not sure why we would have lost signal there. It's a very unusual place for us to lose signal. Anyway, couldn't find any of those frogs. But what we'll do is we'll do a little loop down this road, and there's some puddles down here which we may find contain some interesting frogs. So I don't know if you did see, but there's lots of water in the Djuma Dam. And how long that will remain depends largely on whether we get some more rain or not. Hello, Christopher in Arizona. You want to know if I find it exhausting to do a 3-hour show on my own. Christopher, first of all, luckily this has only been 2 hours because the first hour was spent rushing around like a mad idiot looking for the immobilizer, which I had lost. So, Christopher, but yeah, obviously you don't get a break at all.
Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back in the vehicle with us. Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back in the vehicle with us. Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out...
Sorry about that, everybody. I'm not sure what's going on. We will obviously have to look at a few things this evening. But there is the moon, a beautiful waxing moon, shining down over quarantine clearings where there are elephants in abundance. I think the same herd and fragments of it that we saw earlier on. Now, just to remind you all, you're all springing forward on your clocks tomorrow, which means that this is going to be 1 hour later for you tomorrow. Remember that. Tomorrow for you will arrive, well, sort of after our tomorrow. So tomorrow morning should be pretty much exactly the same as it would be for you. Tomorrow evening, you will be an hour later because you will have sprung forward into your daylight savings, which is very exciting indeed. That's in the US, of course. I'm assuming that Europe is doing the same thing on the same time. I don't know. Now, Gracie, age 8, I said this morning that you were not going to be able to watching because you obviously don't watch in the morning, you have to sleep. And Nurse Angie was watching, you say, and she told you that Bob is back at Biffle's Hook. Well, yes, Gracie, he is, and as you say, it's something of a miracle, I agree. And we'll try and go and have a look at him tomorrow for you, and then you can see him there. Termites in great abundance. Most of them were in my room this morning, as I said. They're now going to be in my eye, no doubt. Make a nest with that fly. So Gracie, yes, little Bob is back. We think it's Bob. Anyway, it doesn't matter if it is or it isn't, we'll call him Bob. And hopefully he'll stay around there. And we'll just stop and see if we can hear. Oh, there's some giraffe there. Oh, there's a giraffe lying down here. I'm just going to drive slowly past. And I'm just going to put this light down. Oh, she's got up now. Look, she's getting up. So I know you can hardly see. We don't really normally light giraffe. I don't mind putting a little wash of this white light on her. But you can just see them walking in the darkness there. So what I don't want to do is put the bright spotlight on them. That's just a sort of side light that's washing them. And a wonderful sound of the crickets, which we haven't had this year. I love the sound of crickets. They'll snooze here probably for most of the evening, and I don't know if you saw that one get up, but they sleep, of course, with their legs folded up and their heads up. So they don't put their heads on the ground. Go away, termite, and find yourself a mate. Isn't that sweet? Just watching us gently. Let's carry on. Now, Sandy, interesting question from you. You want to know if we've seen the new baby zebra that Dazzling Dave and I saw being born. I'm not sure if that was you who called him Dazzling Dave or Louise. Either way, I'm not convinced about it. And the answer is no, Sandy, we haven't, as far as I know. I think I may have, but I think that zebras are a lot bigger than we think they are when they're born. And the one that I did see, I think that looks too big. But I haven't seen any others that little. And crucially, we haven't found anything eaten here. I mean, the Kahuma Pride was around here. They could have eaten it and just kind of walked off without us knowing. But I don't think so. So I don't know, Sandy. We did look quite extensively the next day, though. But alas, did not find it. Let's go up this little piece here. Thank you, Patricia, for your very kind comments saying that Dave and I have done an amazing job of driving you around and keeping you relatively entertained. I'm very pleased, Patricia. And an interesting one from Chris, who just before we went black screen there said, is it exhausting? The one quite nice thing about doing a 3-hour drive like this, well, in my case, 2 hours, is that you generate a conversation where when you're swapping between the vehicles, it's often a lot more interesting from a biological point of view because you don't have those lengthy sections of just driving along, hoping to find things. But what it does is it creates an opportunity to have slightly more in-depth conversations. So yes, while it's a little bit tiring, I find it quite stimulating to have those slightly long conversations with you. there was a bit more on quarantine here. I suppose I should shine the light. I'm not very good at shining the light, of course. I find I start to get distracted and then I just basically shine it like this when I'm looking into the camera, which is pointless. I had it pointed out to me the other day. We have these little feedback sessions twice a week, and somebody said, "What are you doing with that spotlight?" And I was talking into the camera in this fashion, which of course is totally hopeless. And Jane, of course, got her own back. I'm always laughing at her because she spotlights the world like this, which of course is actually very technique, at least very effective, because you can talk to the camera like this. But unfortunately, you've got to have shoulders, the likes of which Arnold Schwarzenegger would be jealous of. And I'm not sure how on earth Jamie, who is a waif of a human being, manages to hold her arm up like this while she drives along. Anyway, I couldn't do it. I think I should have an assistant shine it for me. Now that I have 28 Twitter followers and I'm such a celebrity. Thank you, Angel Lady. You say this has been a very odd drive, but entertaining nonetheless. Angel Lady, would you like to expand on why it's been odd? All right, we are 1 minute left of this drive, which I think has been rather entertaining. So I'm going to find a little spot next to the moon, and then we can look at the moon. David, would you show us the moon again? That's our entrance gate, everybody. We're about to turn for home, but before we do that, we'll just have a last look at the moon. Now, waxing and waning, of course, let us not forget. Waxing means getting bigger. Waning means getting smaller. Thank you, Safari Surfer. You were very complimentary, saying that you were pleased with the drive, even though I had a fly in my eye. I don't know what that dot of light is next to the moon. It might be a thing on the lens, because I can't see it with my binoculars. All right, everybody, that's it from us. Thank you very much for coming with us, and I must apologize again quickly for losing the immobilizer today. Thank you, David. Thank you, Louise, in the final control, helped by Geraldine, and mostly thank you to all of you for talking to me the whole way through. It was great fun. We'll see you tomorrow at 05:30. Until then, bye-bye.